All right, kind of a horrible angle, but I just thought, you know what, I need to record this and get it out there. All right, so hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janet and I have lost over 100 pounds following the ketogenic diet. Now, I don't know, I haven't posted a video for, I want to say it's probably been a couple of months. I'm not even sure when my last video was out, but I wanted to give you guys kind of an update on where I've been, how everybody is doing, because you guys, you know the struggles that have been in my life for the last, it's been a long 6 months if I'm gonna be honest. But I wanted to do this video, so I miss you guys so very much, and I want to thank you for every single one of you that have reached out and, you know, messaged me on my Instagram and made a comment on some of my videos. You know, where are you? Hope everybody is well. I read and seen every single message, so thank you. I was actually very overwhelmed. Obviously, I knew that I was MIA from YouTube. I do plan on coming back, but I was like, nobody's really gonna miss me. You know, nobody's gonna miss my content or, you know, miss me and updates and everything like that. But I was surprised. I probably got like 30 to 40 people that messaged me, so thank you so much. It means the world to me. You have no idea. So let's get into everything that you want to know. I will try to remember it all in this video. If you want to know something and I did not mention it in this video, write it down in the comments. I will be sure to answer it in my next video. And first things first is, I don't know exactly where this channel is going to go anymore. I've said that before, and during the time that I haven't uploaded a video to this channel, I really kind of where this channel is going to move towards, and I still don't know what that is, because I'll tell you why. Over the course of pretty much the new year, I'll be honest, because I think like Jimmy's, there was a lot, you guys know all the stresses that I had in my life with my immediate family, Jimmy's surgery. I'm an emotional eater, and in the last 2 months, I have not been keto. I have not been really anything. Like, I haven't really been following any sort of guideline as far as what I'm eating. There was probably about 2 weeks after Jimmy's surgery that I just was eating whatever, because we were eating out so much. Jimmy was in the hospital for 5 days, and I kind of ate whatever was in the hospital, like the cafeteria. They have a Tim Hortons there with sandwiches and stuff. So I was just kind of eating on the go all the time. And then I don't think I mentioned it on my YouTube channel, but of course, Jimmy was home for 3 days, because most of you know he has had his 3rd spinal surgery. This is his 2nd surgery on his lower back. They in fact had to take everything out from his 1st surgery, which is the titanium, and they had to take it all out. And over, you know, the last 17 years, that titanium actually molds to your spine. And so it's quite an ordeal to take that all out, and then they had to put new titanium in and then move up a disc. So that is the surgery that he had done. Pretty major surgery. He said it was way worse than the first one, and he's never going to do it again. That's it, no more for back surgeries. So he had that done, and he was in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days. He had a really unpleasant experience at the hospital. I'll just kind of leave it at that. We are very fortunate here. I'm so grateful for all the doctors and nurses. You know, we have paid healthcare, right? Like, we pay for it, I'm sure, in other ways, right? In taxes or something, but we don't pay for anything. So x-rays, doctor visits, hospital stays, we don't pay for anything whatsoever. So he was in the hospital for 5 days. He came home, and he honestly, he probably got released a little bit too early, because he got released on the Friday, and he probably could have used another like 3 or 4 days in the hospital. So that was very, I don't want to say chaotic, but you know, for any of those that are a caregiver, I'm sure you understand, like Jimmy couldn't move, right? So you know, I was taking care of him, Zoe was home, and we were taking care of him, you know, for the first 2 weeks for sure. He couldn't do anything. And of course, this is kind of what I was getting to. Of course, this would happen in my life. is Zoe ended up getting sick. So about 3 days after Jimmy came home, and Zoe started getting an extreme stomach pain. And she's had these bouts before, and you know, there's been blood work, everything's come back normal, and then the pain goes away, and then she forgets about it, and then another 2 months it happens again. They're kind of like attacks, right? And this one was pretty severe. And I told her, I said, well, go to emergency. Like, if it's that painful, like gravel wasn't working, there was nothing that was helping her whatsoever. I said, you need to go, not to emergency, to the walk-in. I said, go to the walk-in and, you know, see what they can do, right? So she went to the walk-in, and you guys have heard my walk-in stories because we don't have a family doctor. The walk-in visits are literally 3 to 4 hour wait, and she was constantly throwing up. That was a major symptom that she also had, like constantly throwing up. Like when she was at home, she said she threw up like 6 times. She threw up on the way to town. At the walk-in, she threw up like twice. Like, it was really bad. And of course I had to stay home because Jimmy was only home from surgery like day 3, and I didn't want him to do anything that he shouldn't be doing, if you know what I mean. So I was like, you know, you need to go to the walk-in. So she did, and there was somebody in the walk-in or something had mentioned it to the receptionist on how sick Zoe was. And so the nurse had called in Zoe, and they gave her a shot of Demerol, and to kind of subside like the pain and the throwing up, or gravel. It was Demerol or gravel, I can't remember which one. And then she continued waiting in the waiting room, and then she went into the doctor, and the doctor was like, I won't even look at you. You're way too sick to be here. You need to go to the emergency room. So, you know, she drove herself, and she called me, and she's like, I have to go to the emergency room. And I was like, you know, this is like a mother's worst nightmare, right? Like I can't be there with my daughter who's extreme pain. She's driving herself everywhere, you know, in pain. We live a half hour away from the city, and it was the worst feeling as a parent. And so what I did is I called my dad, and I said, you know, Dad, and he was worried because I never call him. We usually text all the time. I said, Zoe is going to emergency. I said, she's having an extreme stomach ache, but I said, I can't really leave like with Jimmy here, right? And he's like, for sure, I'm there. So he got there. I think it was a little bit before Zoe got there, and stayed with her. And like, she was just suffering so much, in pain. Like, Dad would send me pictures, and she was literally in the fetal position, in so much pain. She was throwing up still at the emergency. And, you know, again, at the emergency wait, it's still a long wait because it obviously goes in priority. So people that have had accidents or a heart attack or whatever else, they get priority, you know, over some of the other people. But she got in there fairly quickly. Like, I think it was about a 2 hour wait. And then the guilt got to me, and I'm like, I cannot be here while she is at emergency and literally, you know, in tears, right? And I knew my dad was there. Like, my dad and her have such a special bond, and I knew that she was in good hands, but as a parent, I just had to be there. So I told Jimmy, I said, please promise me that you will not do anything stupid. You will literally lay in bed and, you know, go to the washroom if you need to go, but like, that is it. Like, you will not be going to make something, or, you know, doing this and that, because we have dogs. They're pretty well trained, but like, anything could happen, right? And he would be home alone. And he promised me that he wouldn't do anything. So I went in and to be with Zoe. And at that time, when I got into the room, in the emergency room, Zoe had said, and my dad had said, they've tried to put an IV in her because she's so dehydrated, but they can't put an IV in her. And like, Zoe hates needles, right? But she was so strong, and she was like, Mom, she's like, I did it without you. Like, they took blood already too, and I did it without you. Because whenever she goes and gets blood work done or anything, like, I go with her, right? And I felt so bad for her because this, you know, she's tiny. She's just always been a little tiny thing, you know. She's not even 5 foot nothing, and you know, she's like 100 pounds, right? And she just looked awful. She just looked absolutely awful. So finally, there was another lady came in. She tried an IV once again, couldn't get it. Like, both arms, couldn't get it. And then finally another lady came in, probably about a half hour, an hour after that, and she finally got it. And I was like, oh my God, thank God, because the girl like was so dehydrated that she needed IV fluids ASAP. And they also wanted to give her pain medication through the IV because she was throwing up so much. So they didn't want to give her any pills orally because she would probably just throw them up anyways, right? So that was another reason why I was like, please, like, get this IV in this girl. And so it was very, very stressful. And it probably took about, I would say, a couple, 3 hours. We were still in emergency for all of that to start working. Like, she went through 2 bags of the IV solution in like an hour, like, and she never even went to the bathroom. Like, she was so dehydrated from being sick, right? And so I told my dad that he could leave, because by this time it was getting late, and I said, no, I said, you're okay to leave, I'll stay with her. And at that time we knew, pretty much my dad knew, as soon as she got to the hospital, they had told him that she would be admitted into the hospital. So that was another reason why I went to the ER, because if she was getting admitted into the hospital, I wanted to be there, making sure, like, all the, you know, she had her ID on her and all that stuff. So finally, I think it was like probably 9:30, 10 o'clock that night, she finally got a room, and it was so good because she got a room by herself, so that was really nice. And she was put under isolation because, you know, she was throwing up, and anytime that you have any sort of like bodily fluids like diarrhea or throwing up, they put you in a room by yourself. So she was in a room all by herself, so she was excited about that. And she was in the hospital for 4 days. They did a bunch of tests on her. They did an ultrasound, they did an MRI, they did 2 sets of blood work, and nothing showed up in any of those tests. Everything was absolutely normal. So, and then by that time she was ready to come home. Like, she likes the hospital, but that's like, I love the hospital. I love being in the hospital, and so does she. But like day 3, she's like ready to go home. So I think she was in the hospital for about 4 days, and they had made an appointment for biopsies in about 2 weeks time after she had been discharged from the hospital. So since then we have gotten those biopsies done, and you know, she was put under for that, and that was quite, like, she's never had that done before, right? So she was put under, and they, you know, did the scope down her throat, and they took 3 biopsies, one from the top of her esophagus, the middle, and the lower. And then those test results, she actually went a couple weeks ago at the beginning of March for those results, and nothing showed up in those results, you guys. So she got some medication when she was discharged from the hospital to help with like some pain, and you know, that was pretty much it, really. They couldn't really do much else for her, but it was so stressful. So in the first week that Jimmy was home, I was in the hospital with Zoe. Like, it was, I spent literally 2 weeks in the hospital between Jimmy and with Zoe. Like, it was, you know, I'm sure you guys can comprehend if something like that ever happened. And I thought to myself, like, because we live a half an hour away from town and from the hospital, and I thought, what if I get into a car accident? Like, what if I am the only one that can be the caregiver right now, and doing all these things and running back and forth to town and taking care of Jimmy and taking care of Zoe and doing all these things, and then I get into a car accident? Like, that was literally on my mind every single day, because I was like, you just have to stay strong, right? And so that, anyways, that was kind of the whole month of kind of like January and February, honestly, because Zoe got her test results March 1st, and probably a couple weeks. So yeah, I would say a good month. Between like the middle of January until the middle of February, we were kind of dealing with that, as well as Jimmy's recovery, you know. And Jimmy's recovery is like quite limiting for what he can do, right? So, you know, putting on your socks, or, you know, making meals, because when you make meals, like, obviously he can make a sandwich or something, and Jimmy's a very, very, very good cook. But all of our pots and pans are like kind of in the bottom shelf, and you know, you're reaching for spices. Like, he can't reach, he can't stretch, he can't bend, he can't sit, he couldn't be in a car, like literally everything. The only thing that he could do was lay down or stand up, and that was it for like 8 weeks. That's all he could do. So you guys, you know, like I said, you can imagine how busy and stressful it was for me, and then on top of that with Zoe being ill, it was crazy. So that's kind of what's going on with my family. Jimmy is much better now. We actually just had his appointment with his surgeon and he is doing perfectly fine. It is healing perfect. They did x-rays. It is healing great. He can drive, he can be in a car, he can do light duties. He still cannot bend or stretch or do any of that for another 3 months, and then we go back to the surgeon again in 3 months. They do x-rays and, you know, kind of reevaluate everything. But that was a big relief for Jimmy to actually be kind of like a little bit more independent, because, you know, he wasn't able to do anything for those 8 weeks. So that was good. Jimmy is doing excellent. So proud of him. Like, he's come a long way from day one of the surgery recovery. So very, very happy about that. And Zoe is doing much better with the medication that she is on. We're gonna probably have to reevaluate at some point when she's like out of her prescription pills, and, you know, go from there if it happens again. Like, they literally did every test that they could possibly do and nothing came of it. So it's very, very weird. But I think what she might start doing, a family friend of ours actually mentioned this, is that we should kind of keep track of her eating and her food diary, because it could be something that she's allergic to. Because me and Zoe are we're clones. We're exactly the same. We have asthma, we have severe food allergies, and we have eczema. And so with those things, like, food allergies cause a lot of havoc on your body. Especially when you have severe food allergies like me and Zoe do. I just looked at the time. Sorry, this is going to be a long video, so hopefully you guys have some water or something. So anyways, we're going to keep track of her food log and kind of see if it's anything food related that could be causing these issues. I don't think it's IBS, because I do have IBS, but that's what we're going to do with her and then kind of reevaluate as time goes on. But another thing with Zoe, which we are so proud, is that she is going to a university. It's about a couple hours away. It's in a city called Lethbridge, which is the southern part of Alberta, so the University of Lethbridge, and she is going into her psychology degree. So she is going for 4 more years. She's already done 2 years, and anything that, like, she needs to transfer to university, and she doesn't want to go to a big city like Calgary or, you know, Vancouver or anything like that. So she did found it's kind of the same size as Medicine Hat, if anybody knows, you know, Canada. But yeah, she will be going there, and I'm so proud of her. I've said this before, but you know, 2020 was so hard on her because that was her graduation year, and it was very, very difficult year for us, for sure, for, you know, graduating during the pandemic. So she is going to be moving. She's going to be moving probably in the month of May. She has a summer job there already, actually. It's the same job that she did last summer in a greenhouse, so she's excited about that. And yeah, she'll be moving. So that's gonna be different because, you know, it's our baby. And you know, Jimmy and I will be empty nesters, so that's really exciting though for her. So that's what's been happening with her. Jenna is still doing the same thing that Jenna does. She has 2-3 jobs and working hard like she always does, and she's just working away. We're very, very proud of her. You know, she's an assistant manager, has been in Banff, Alberta for a very, well, probably 2 years. I think she's been an assistant manager now, and we're really proud how far they have come, because it was tough. I always say, like, 2020 was so hard on the kids that were like our girls' age, because for like kids that are younger, like 5, 6, 7, 8, like, you know, they go back to school, you know, eventually, or they get to see their friends eventually. But for our girls, like, they were 17 and 19, and your life, like, their life kind of stopped. And I'm not saying everybody's life stopped, but, you know, they were ready to do something with their future, right? To go to school, to go to university, to move out of the house, to do this, and like everything just kind of stopped for them. So we're really proud of them both. But that's the update on the rest of my family. And now for me, I know this is long-winded, you guys, and I won't feel bad if you guys skip parts. I really, really don't. But yeah, with me, my business, my Etsy business, has been blown out of the water. So as I mentioned before, I was so busy with my business, Janet Greta Budgets, and it's budgeting, it's everything to do with budgeting, it's cash stuffing, it's how Jimmy and I got out of debt and how we were able to retire. And you know, it is something that I'm so passionate about. When I started my Etsy shop, I never would have thought how it would have blown up, but it really has blown up. So in November, December, I was sounding like a broken record because I was so busy all the time, and it even got busier for me. And one of my videos went viral on TikTok. I got over 1 million views, and ever since then it has been absolutely flat out busy. So I realized in January, I guess it was probably the middle of January, probably when I kind of stopped vlogging, and I realized that I needed help. Like this is way too much for me to handle, and I needed help. So I was lucky enough that Zoe took the semester off of school already. She was already off for the winter semester, and so she helped me. And then I hired 2 part-time employees. So these employees already have other jobs, but their other jobs are part-time as well. So it kind of worked out really well. And those part-time employees can work from home. So there's like a task that I can give them that I need done, and they can take it and they can work on it at home. So that was a huge thing. But yeah, I've hired 3 part-time employees. And like I said, Zoe is one of them, so she will be leaving in May, and I'll see if I do hire anybody else. But I have 3 part-time employees for my business, and it has skyrocketed. Unbelievable. Like I'm still in shock when, you know, I get orders, 5 to 10 orders every single day. It's unbelievable. So that is another reason why I've kind of been MIA, as well as kind of like I wanted to give you the whole picture, you know, with what was going on with Jimmy, what was going on with Zoe, and you know, that in itself really took up a lot of time. And then on top of that, you know, I was working, you know, I was working 12-hour, 14-hour days. Like I'm not even joking. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day. And in between me and my office here, I was either going to visit Zoe at the hospital, or I was taking care of Jimmy, you know, helping him do whatever he needed to do. And that was it. That was literally all that I had time for, because it was so busy. Now that I have kind of hired the part-time help, I have trained the part-time help, and we're kind of like a well-oiled machine now. It feels a lot better, and I feel like I'm a lot less stressed for right now, and can try to get things in order, because there's always something, you know. So now instead of 12 hours a day, I usually work about 7 or 8 hours a day in my office, and I really try to limit it from like 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 or whatever those hours and what I need to do that day. So that's been a big help. So I'm really trying to figure out time management, and to give myself some self-care as well, because now that kind of everything is like simmering down a little bit, I want to find some time for myself as far as walking and taking care of myself, and figure out what sort of healthy way of eating that I am going to be following, because I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'll be honest, I've gone back and forth so many times daily, you know, in these last 2 months, because I've really gravitated towards a well-balanced diet, because there's a lot of reasons why, and I'll get into that in another video. But I love keto as well, because I love the foods that keto offer. It's one day I'm keto, one day I'm all for the well-balanced diet thing. And when I say well-balanced diet, for me personally, remember, everybody is different on this journey, but for me personally, that would be low carb. I can never probably go to the effect of having like 200 or 300 grams of carbs every day. It's just, my body doesn't respond well to it, you know. But I need variety. I need, you know, and that's kind of what gravitates me towards the lower carb, or, you know, the all-American diet. Not necessarily the all-American diet, but you guys know what I mean. And, you know, keto is like, to me, when I think of keto now, because I haven't done keto for 2 months, which I know it's not true, you guys, but it's kind of like, for me, it feels restricting. It feels restrictive now. And I don't want to say this with like to not be encouraging to those that are still doing keto, because I love keto. I loved keto. I got down to a goal weight, but I also got down to a goal weight by following macros and on a lower carb diet. Like, it's not a one size fits all, and I just don't know. I don't know where I'm at right now. I'm really gonna have to put some focus on that once the time gets there. But I have gained some weight. I have gained some weight back, if I'm being 100% honest. Do I know how much? No, I don't. And I probably don't want to right now. You know, my pants are snugger. My shirts feel tighter, you know, and it's just those sort of things that obviously a person notices. I feel like my asthma has gotten a little bit worse. You know, I know it's wintertime and that sometimes flares it, but I feel like my asthma has gotten a little bit worse because of the weight gain. But you know what? I'm just going to try to figure it out. And once I figure it out, and then I can stick to a routine. All right. I think I've talked long enough, you guys. I hope all this video makes sense. I haven't done, you know, any sort of recording whatsoever in the longest time. So I feel like I'm totally kind of out of the loop as far as like engaging in, you know, a conversation on the camera. But please, if you have any questions, you know, ask them below, right down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. Once again, thank you so much for everybody that has reached out, and I promise you that there will be more content to come. I just need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Do you ever feel that way? Like, do you feel like, because, you know, for me, keto wasn't working. I tried keto literally all of 2022 and it just wasn't working for me, and you get really discouraged after like a year and a half when it's not working. When I tried so many different things, I tried the carnivore, I tried, you know, I tried alternate day fasting, I tried like intermittent fasting, I tried all of these things and nothing was really working for me, and that got me really discouraged. And I think that, along with all the stress factors in my life, and you know, it put me to a place where I'm at right now, which is a place of confusion. And you know, I'll figure it out. I always do. Like, feel like this is just an ongoing lifetime battle for me, is, you know, finding that kind of happy medium and being happy with my decision. You know, I don't know if I went keto right now if I would really be happy with that decision, because keto did let me down. I'll be honest. Keto let me down for a year and a half, and it worked for me at the beginning, but then it didn't work for me, you know, and that's very discouraging. So I just want to take that into account and kind of reevaluate things and figure out a plan on what I'm going to do, because I'm a planner. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to plan out my life and figure out what I'm doing. And when I do know that, I'm hoping it'll be very soon, because I'd like to lose some of this extra weight before summer. And then I will get back to vlogging for sure. But I missed you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really, really appreciate it. Please go back and watch some of my older videos. It really, really does help me out. I appreciate it so much. And we will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.